Dear community, today with me, Collins-Harrison Odhiambo. Collins and I, we went to the same primary school. And after ages, we met again. And Collins has a beautiful story to tell, according to me. Collins, you're now in Nairobi living with your family. I'm glad you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on this program.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the readiness, for your courage to share your story and your knowledge in this kind of crazy world. You suffered a fateful blow. That's a kidney transplant, a
Mhm.
long time, and you know what challenges one can face. So I'm so glad that you're here with us. Dear Collins, who are you working for
Yeah,
back there in Nairobi? Please introduce
I
yourself.
work for the. My name, as you've been told, Collins-Harrison Odhiambo. I work for the Law Society of Kenya, which is the bar association that is responsible for regulating the practice of law in Kenya as a republic. Yes, I work as a deputy secretary, and I'm in charge of the Directorate for Public Interest with specific mandate on legislative review. So largely I work as the first parliamentary counsel for the Law Society of Kenya with the Parliament of Kenya. So that is me.
That is you. And
Additionally, I'm married. I have one wife. I have two daughters. I have a son. I like my children so much because they're basically my life, and my family is my first priority. I do everything to guard the family. So when I got the blow, it was not just my blow, but it was a blow to the family. But I
yeah,
thank the support that I got from them.
great,
And I
great.
still get that support.
And you
Yeah.
still get the support, and you're also
Yeah.
working on yourself. I'm so glad you're getting the support. I'm so glad you're taking the responsibility. It's not
That
only
is
your
true.
blow, it's the blow of all that love you
Yeah.
as well.
That
Right.
is true. Mm.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to talk about why you believe such blows and challenges make us stronger. But maybe before that, tell us about the when it occurred, you know.
Okay.
And the second one would be change of lifestyle. Is it a choice we make? And the third one, the last one, your three tips for own personal growth. So let's get going.
All
When did
right.
it
Thank
happen?
you.
Yeah.
Now, I was diagnosed with end kidney disease about uh, 7 years ago. Um, I tried every intervening methods that I could. I had very strong support from the society. My friends, especially the ones who live in the US, they organized, they flew me to the US for treatment before my kidney completely failed. They did their best. I was in one of the best facilities in New York, upstate. I was seen by some of the best doctors. It is at that point when they revealed to me that my kidney is actually declining at a very fast pace, and it could be something related to living with diabetes type 2.
Mm.
So the situation was they asked me, are you willing to stay over in the US so that you can continue with the treatment? Meaning that you won't see your family for quite some time because you'll
Mm.
have to go through dialysis, and eventually then you might consider having a kidney transplant. It was one of those biggest blow, and I didn't know how to handle it because I was looking at a young family then. My son was only 3 years old. My daughter had just been born, and my wife is also not Kenyan, so she's been working on her papers so that she can balance things in terms of also doing something meaningful for herself. She's an IT consultant. So I had to consider all this because I was the backbone of the family. I simply told the doctors, I can't stay in the US, I have to go back home. I
Mm.
was willing to face it with them around me. And believe me, there's nothing as good as having the family support.
Yes.
So I came back to Kenya. That was in 2017. I spoke to them. I told them what the doctor had said. They were strong enough. They held me together. We prayed. I'm a very prayerful person. I'm a Christian, practicing Christian.
Mm.
And I believe at that point, I realized and I learned how important religion is in one's life. because at that point I needed something to hang on to.
Yes,
And I had
yes,
the Christian God that I hung on to.
yeah.
And I prayed to him and I made covenants that I could make. I told him, even if you are to turn me to be a child, just ensure this thing doesn't hurt me and my family. So the story goes, I came back to Kenya. Um, I was put on dialysis. It meant that my life completely had to change. Waking up thrice in a week, waking up very early in the morning at 5 a.m., getting myself connected to the machine at around 8, then staying on in the machine for about 5 hours. When I left dialysis, it was not the same as usual. I left when I was extremely fatigued, very tired, exhausted, disoriented, mentioned everything about sickness that you can imagine. I went through it. And after that experience, I realized that driving myself to the center was easy, but driving myself out, it was impossible. So we had to make complete changeover with the family. I gave an extra duty to my wife because she was always doing her work at home, but now she had to take over responsibility of driving me out of the hospital,
Yes.
ensuring that we follow up everything. And that is just the beginning. So come to 2019, I think I flew back to the US, just going to check if at all there were possibilities of getting a kidney donor. Unfortunately, I discovered that lifestyle sickness had actually spread so much that even the hospital where we were consulting, they had about 20,000 people who were lined up for kidney transplant. So to me, that was not very tenable. I just told them, let me just face it the way it came. So I went back home. Luckily, through social support from family, one nephew who had actually taken care of when he was young called me, and this was around 30 years later. Somebody had met, I mean, I saw when he was a toddler. And he told me, Uncle, I've heard about your tragedy, I've heard about your problems, and I'm willing to come through for you. I want to donate my kidney to make you have
Really?
life, it can work for you, yeah.
Oh
And
my
that was a
goodness.
great moment of my life, I can assure you, because life was going to change. I was no longer going to be tied to the machine. I was no longer going to have only one day of the week to be able to work. But I must tell you that it also boils down to the relationship you have with your employer if you're employed.
Oh yes.
My employer was very supportive. My
That's the
employer,
Kenyan Law
the
Society or
Kenya
the
Law
Law
Society,
Society of Kenya. All right. Mhm.
yeah. So they stood with me and they allowed me to be working from home most
Very
of the
nice.
time. Yeah.
Very nice. Wow, we are grateful to be a nephew, and it's all about that emotional bank account you were building all through, and you're still building. I'm happy to hear that. Now, let me ask you something. Why did you have? Don't you think there are also such specialists in Kenya? Why did you have to go to US for that?
And now my friends, they didn't believe it at first when I told them. They thought it was a matter of misdiagnosis
All right.
because it has happened. And unfortunately, partly it was misdiagnosis because what I was told in Kenya is that I was suffering from a heart failure.
And that was all.
Yeah. And that was also my sleeping pattern had to change in the house because I had to sleep sitting for about one
Yeah.
month. And
Oh,
my diet had to change almost immediately. My medications changed. Unfortunately, I deteriorated. So it was when things were really getting out of hand that my friends told me, look at this, Collins. If you stay there, you will die. If you board the
yes.
plane to come, even if you die, you will still die anyway. So make a choice between whether you are coming over to the US or you want to continue with your doctors in Kenya. So you know
All
that was
right. I
between
understand.
a hard place and a rock.
Yeah.
So I made the
Yeah.
choice of getting into the plane because it was something that was all of a sudden getting visa for my wife to accompany me was not
Oh,
very easy.
sure. Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
so
You've got the pains
I
and
took the
also
journey
this.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
32 hours flight. Yeah,
Wow.
because it was a connection that was delayed at Dubai. So when I
Wow.
eventually get to the US, I was very tired, but my team was very gracious. I'm still very grateful to the doctors, Dr. Oyugi, Dr. Magambo, my friend Godfrey Odongo.
Oh, yes, a great guy.
Yeah, yeah, they were trying to receive me when I got to New York.
Ah.
Yeah.
So, Godfrey, if you watch this later when you wake up back there in New York, we say thank you. Now, dear Collins,
Yeah.
in what way have you learned from this in the sense of making you stronger? Maybe one point for the viewers before we move to a second point.
Yeah, one thing that has actually made me stronger is that if you've invested well in your family, then you really have something to bank on.
Mm,
So I feel always stronger because I know that I personally have social networks that I can be able to depend on during times such as that.
yes.
And secondly, since I learned that life is not very certain throughout,
Mm.
I've actually learned to plan my life much better than before. I came up with a life strategic plan, and that
Ah,
has
very
made me
nice.
much more stronger. Yeah.
I think that's going to be part of our second point, the life strategic plan, change of lifestyle, a choice we make. Yeah, I'm glad you got support and I'm glad you acknowledge that. And that's what makes you stronger. Thank you so much. Great. Now, your life strategic plan, how does it look like? Or rather, change of lifestyle, is it a choice we make?
Yeah, you have to make a choice actually because, like, unlike before, now every morning and every evening I have to be conscious that the pills that I have to take, they're called the
Yeah,
immunosuppressant pills
yeah.
that helps to sustain the grafted kidney so that it is not attacked by my body system. Yeah, when I started this, it was a little challenging, but eventually I got used to it. There were issues of the side effects of the medication that I was taking, the kind of food that I have to eat. And so it was inevitable that I had to make uh, life changing choices in terms of my pattern of waking up. I have to wake up on time for the medication, uh, exercises, the kind of food that I eat. And unfortunately, it came at a time when the world is going through the pandemic, and
Mm,
it hasn't been very easy because I'm a person who has to live with reduced immunity because of the medication. So, on two occasions, I had to suffer when, after being so much bored within the space that I work with, I mean, at home, I went to the physical office space. The next thing I knew is that I was down with corona and I had to be rushed to the
oh,
high
what a blow.
dependency unit. Yeah. So I think it is inevitable that you have to make choices about life that really has to alter the course of your personal life, the course of your family life, and the course of your relationship with friends and your social networks.
Wow. So it's a choice we make in small steps, like in making your routines, or in long terms, like who are you dealing with? Who are you interacting with, right?
Very true, because I think now I had to increase to the number of friends that I have, and most of them are medical doctors, nurses, and the caregivers. Yeah, those are the people that I had to introduce in my social circle. Before, life was always good. My
Yeah.
homies, people that I went to school with, comparing notes, partying
Yeah.
out a lot. Um,
Yeah. Talking about
I'm a person
success.
who, yes, I'm a person who likes eating out a lot, and so my life has to change completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I indicated earlier, I became a victim of my own success
Yeah.
when I started working. Having come from a very humble background, I wanted to know the fine things of the world. So I was lucky that my kind of work exposed me to that kind of life where I ate out in good hotels with good people, took fine drinks, and voila, at the end of the day, I had to pay the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. You've got a guest coming in at home.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
guest coming in, but I'm taking care of it.
Very nice. Very nice. Love it. No problem. You can continue. We love guests. Right, right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing your story. It's amazing how you deal with it, and it's amazing how you are keen on making a choice. It's a choice you make, and you are kind of, how do you say it? What of your success, fate of your success, or
Yeah, success. I was
yeah,
a victim of my
a
personal
victim.
success.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Wow,
Because,
wow.
I indicated that I come from a very humble background.
Yes.
My origins are humble. I come from Western Kenya, an
Mm-hmm.
island called Rusinga. I
Mm-hmm.
think it is the second largest island in Lake Victoria. And imagine if you make strides in life from such a place to being able to interact with contemporaries now in big cities, Washington, D.C., Nairobi, and
Mm.
perhaps I desire to visit Germany now. That gives you an opportunity to invite me.
Very nice.
I
That's
like Germany from when I was young. I supported the German team up to 1986. You remember people like Luther Matthias. We
oh
have
yes, oh
Karl-Heinz
yes.
Rummenigge, and that was my big team. I always dreamt of one day visiting Germany, and everything we always called German machines. We like the Mercedes Benz. We like everything about Germany.
Made in Germany was really,
Made in Germany.
yeah,
Actually, it is a deal up to now.
yeah. And so you
So
wanted to see the world, you worked hard,
I
but
worked hard. I
mostly,
wanted.
yeah, maybe just going through and not looking at the left and
Yeah,
at the right, not taking care of yourself, but you want that success.
that is it. So I'd actually reached at that pedestal where life was at its best. I was at the prime of my career. I'd just finished one of my master's programs in organizational development. It's a specialized MBA. And I think at that point, God had offered me a privilege to get a second scholarship. My first scholarship actually landed me to Washington, D.C., where I was
Mm,
chosen among 15 committed African young promising leaders, where we had a program with the former Speaker of the Senate, that is Paul Ryan. So we stayed learning a lot the way democracy in the US works, how lobbying is done, advocacy is done. We were given privileges to be visiting some of the best and fine salons,
wow.
courtesy of the US government. We stayed there for about 3 months, and we were brought back to Kenya so that we could be able to infect people with the good things we had learned.
Did it work?
Yeah, it has worked. That's where I am where I am.
Very nice, very nice. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Getting the knowledge,
So my
transferring the
next
knowledge.
destination is Germany.
Very nice.
I
You're
tell you,
welcome. You're more than
despite the
welcome.
challenges, I believe that is well. Actually, even if it means flying my family out to Germany just to come and see, we need to see the historic sites. Germany is a great place. Yeah.
You're more than welcome. And I love your
Thank
dreams. I
you.
love how you go for your dreams and how you keep on mentioning your family. Because success, we're talking about success. You are a victim of your success, but you have another kind of success. Just having
True,
your
true.
family, this love, and continuing to water, to pour water on it. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, dear
So
Collins, our
that has
third
been my journey. Yeah.
that has been the journey. So just to comment on the second point once again, it's a choice we make before anything happens
Yeah.
so that we don't get such a blow, or maybe, I don't know, maybe sometimes you can avoid it, maybe sometimes not. And also after getting that, accepting it, and then continuing to be strong for the family as well.
That is very true. Actually, that's why I use the word very. I chose the words I use very specifically.
Mm.
Being a victim of my success,
Yes,
because there were certain choices probably if I made,
yes,
it wouldn't have gone this way.
yes,
Probably one important thing is that one should be able to know their limits with food.
yes,
Yeah, overindulging with food is as bad as overindulging with any other thing in life.
yes,
Yeah, because if the doctors say that you're supposed to be below a BMI of 21, please try to make that choice.
yes.
Eat less, eat smart, eat nutrition.
I love
Don't
that.
just excite your mouth and the hands. Yeah. Because if you do that, you'll rarely see any doctor. I think you
Yeah.
remember my childhood. I used to be a good gymnast
Oh, yes, I
and
remember
I
that
rarely
very well.
visited any doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. One step away will keep you
Yeah.
away from the doctor.
So those
One
are
step.
conscious choices. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are
So,
conscious choices you really need to make as a person, an individual. Yeah.
so don't just excite your mouth. And nowadays, there are a lot of
Hmm.
things that can excite our mouth. And you say, eat smart. I love that. Right. Now,
Yeah.
what are your three tips for personal growth, even though such fateful blows are there and they'll continue to be there?
Yeah, one thing is that really need to remain focused. Yeah, you need to remain focused completely. If you had goals that you had set in life, that's why one important thing you have to do is to work on your personal strategic plan. And if you work on your personal strategic plan, it would really excite you that you have very different routes through which you can be able to reach at your goal. There are
Mm,
shorter routes, mid-term routes, there are long-term routes that you can. If a situation as ugly as this one that I met comes your way, then you go back to your Gantt chart with a strategic plan to see what other ways are there for me.
yes.
Like
I,
if it became impossible that I can continue working as a lawyer, then I had to find out which other profession was available for a person of a situation like I have. So that is one of the choices that one has to make. Come up with a clear strategic plan, being conscious of
Mhm.
your current situation.
Mm,
The second one,
I love that.
um, the second one is build on your social network. Very, very important. Yeah, because one thing that sometimes people don't want to admit, a time comes when you've really exhausted all your resources
Mm,
and the insurance can no longer be tenable. Let me tell you, at that point in life, friends really matter.
mm,
So invest in your friends or just do social investment. It's very imperative. Yeah, because at times you can't be sure in life that every other thing will be doing its bid your way. The third, if you're a religious person, religion plays uh, a very big role in your life. Yeah, try to make contacts with the churches, with the mosque, if you're a Hindu, probably you go to the temples. If you're a Jew, I mean, religion played a very big role in my life because I needed someone to just reassure me constantly about just in the unlikely event that things became bad. So the factor that I was assured of a God who had actually promised a good place for me in heaven kept on strengthening me each day. That I
mm.
said, if all went loose, then I have somewhere else to go after death. So religion
Oh,
should
yeah.
actually be a very important part in your life. I know this is a very controversial thing in
It
Europe.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, in Africa, it is not as controversial as it is in Europe, but it is important that you really have to take care of your physical interest, spiritual interest, and even social interest. It
Yeah.
matters when you balance both of them, life continues despite the challenges that you suffer.
Yes. Yes. So you say we have to balance the physical interest, the spiritual
Yeah,
interest, and the social interest.
the social interest. Yeah,
Yeah, and as much as religion is controversial, I know I'm also not religious, but I understand what you mean. You know, it's something
yeah.
giving you hope. So if we find another way of getting that hope, it will work as
Mhm.
well, the same way.
It should work better for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I think what carried me on, like
yeah,
during these very hard times, I had family around me, I had friends around me, I had my wife, Gift Gary, always by my side with my children praying over me, and I really felt strengthened.
and that gave you energy to keep on fighting on.
That
I
is
can
it.
imagine. Yeah,
It gave me the impetus, and that is what has actually carried me to date. If you see me, unless I reveal to you that this is what I've gone through, you'll always say life has actually been a bed of roses for me.
you're right. You're right. If
Yeah.
you didn't have the chart of our talk just a few days before, I couldn't have known. You know.
Yeah, actually, I saw the surprise in you when I told you about that challenge.
Because I look at you, we look at each other, and you make a choice. or you make a judgment, whether you say it loud or not. And in no way could I have thought that you suffered such a blow. I'm so happy
Yeah.
that you're courageous enough and good enough to share with us your story, dear Collins. That was amazing.
Thank
Let
you
me
so
just
very much. Yeah.
let me just summarize these 3 points. You said have a personal strategical plan, also in terms of the
Yeah.
professional way of work. So if because of a
Mhm.
fateful blow you cannot continue with the job right now, you just have to organize a plan B or C or D.
Very true.
Yes. And the second one was build on your social network. That would mean family
Mhm.
and friends, right? Or
Yes,
even
and
colleagues.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And the
colleagues, or whichever social network you can be able to get.
yes, yes. And the third one, I
Yeah.
think that could also be kind of another social network, social pillar, is if you are religious,
Mhm.
go to your church. That's also a
Mhm.
community. They're there anyway. And if
Yeah.
not, maybe find something similar, something that can give you
Mhm.
spiritual strength and hope.
Mhm. That is true.
Great.
I think you've summarized well the three that I've given you in this I mean, in this short time. Yeah.
Wow, amazing, amazing. I'm sure just because you have told us your story, that alone will give us strength and hope. I'm so
Mhm.
happy you are my guest, dear Colin. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Susan.
So see
Yeah.
you at the backstage, and maybe what are you going to do today? Or maybe you've got a last statement for our community today,
To-
something you'd like to
Today
share with us.
we are closing our office for Christmas.
Today,
So
really?
yes, I've been invited by my colleagues to make a physical attendance. They want to see me almost after 1 year of just seeing me virtually.
They
Yeah,
love you.
so that is it. We care. We watch each other. I mean, we are brothers keepers.
All right. All right. Love that. Then enjoy it and say hi to your colleagues and see you at the backstage. Thanks so much.
Anytime. God bless you and thanks for having me. Yeah.